All right, I did something stupid. While making the short for the spring video, I modified the video and I kind of messed it up, so I gotta fix that. But going through my comments, someone asked me how I did the 6-shot mod, so I thought I'd walk you through that first. Hey, how's it going, everybody? It's your boy Big Ball Vlogs, Big Ball Shooting, Big Ball Entertainment, and yeah, I gotta keep this content going. So I'm gonna do a shameless plug. I normally never do this, but I gotta get this channel back up and get it monetized, and hopefully get that 100,000 to get that silver play button that I've been wanting to post on the wall somewhere. So I'm gonna ask you guys, please, if you like this content, please like, subscribe, share, hit that notification button. I won't pester you. Just got some life goals, and being a YouTuber with a play button is one of them. But yeah, I shoot all year long, so you'll have the content coming. I'll make you that promise. Shoot in the wintertime, should be out shooting right now, but got to shoot some content. So yeah, I messed up the other video, but I'm going to do a video real quick on how to modify, or how to do the modifications I did to get your Hatsan to run 6 in the magazine tube and 1 in the chamber ghost loader. So that's 6 plus 1, 7 total. I am not going to take my gun all the way back apart, but I'm pretty sure this is going to be informative enough for you to do it on your own and give you some steps and some tips so that you don't have to, guess it. It'll make it go a little bit faster. It only took me about 2 days. I'm a little bit OCD, so once I start a project, I got to keep working until I finish. But it took me about 2 days, but in those 2 days, I probably spent maybe an hour or 2 working on it each time to get it done. Probably could have got it done in 1 if I had the time, but I just didn't for 1 day. So what I'm going to do is I want to set this up, and I want to walk you through it without taking apart my gun, but you'll get it, trust me. So let's get this all set up, and let me walk you through it and how to get it done. Okay, so here we go. So for the purposes of showing you how to do this, I'm going to use the manual just to show you the parts you're going to need to get to, how you're going to disassemble it, and we're going to start there. Before we get into that, I'm going to tell you the tools you're going to need. You might even have these tools around your house. If you don't, they're very inexpensive. So you're going to need something to push that kink out. I found that a socket set worked best for me. If you're a machinist, or you have access to tools for like spreading pipes or something like that, I'm not sure, but if you have something like that, it might work a little bit faster for you. But this is just how I did it. So if you have basic tools around the house, that's all you're going to need. If you know how to machine yourself a die, or not a die, like a presser tool or something to help you get this done a little bit faster, so be it. So I used a socket set. And you're going to want a socket like this one that kind of has a taper on it, because if you use a socket as a square edge like this, when it hits those kinks or those crimps, it's just going to stop, and you're going to be beating on it forever trying to get it to open up, and it's just not going to work for you. So I found the socket that fit the inner diameter of the tube as wide as possible with a little bit of taper on it, and I started working it through. And actually, the thing that got me like right across the finish line, where then I had to go in with a Dremel, because I couldn't find a socket that was small enough to fit in the tube that would get the kink all the way out. This one is about the size of I guess a 12 gauge shell, but it still caught that kink. This was the socket that I used to kind of help me get me over the edge, and this is like a 1/2 inch, 3 inch long extension, and you're going to need all of your extensions together to kind of make it long enough to get through that tube. You're going to need a heat gun. I would suggest a heat gun and not like a torch, but if you're good with a torch, maybe that'll work for you. I use a regular, Harbor Freight torch. I use a regular Harbor Freight heat gun. That cost me like 20 bucks. And you're going to need something to kind of grip and work with the tube when it's hot. So I use this piece of rubber to get the grip on it that I needed to break the tube. But you might also have a set of rubber grip gloves somewhere that will actually do the same thing and protect you from the heat and give you the grip to disassemble the actual gun to get to the tube. So let's go through the manual real quick. I want to show you how to get this gun apart. You're going to pretty much disassemble it down to the magazine and the receiver for cleaning, using the cleaning method. So we're going to go to that page. Let's see here, and here's how you would break it down for cleaning. So the first thing you're going to do is you're going to remove the top rail. You're going to probably remove the flash hider or the thread protector as needed. Then you're going to remove the barrel and magazine clamp there. And then you're going to take off the threaded magazine, I don't know what that is, magazine cap. And then you're going to go through, once you get the magazine cap off, you're going to slide off the lower grip, which is going to expose the action and the piston and the spring. you're going to take the bolt and action off first. You're going to remove the spring, and then you're basically going to get to these parts, and then you're going to have this. And this is the disassembled receiver and magazine tube. And if you want to clean the barrel, that's how you clean the barrel. But this is where you're going to get down to. But for taking this apart past that, I really do recommend that you remove the receiver from the actual frame. And I'll show you that reason why. Because when you get it all taken down, you're going to have to use a heat gun to break the Loctite, or the thread lock that is on the end of the magazine tube here. And it's not, I don't know, it's not permanent. It looked like it was blue when I took it apart. You may have seen it in one of my previous videos. But you're going to, you need the heat to kind of break that. But it doesn't take much force to break it. But if this is all of this is together and it's in the actual receiver itself, then that heat is going to be, hitting the plastic piece of the receiver, and that might cause warping or melting or burning. So I would suggest taking it all the way down to the receiver, and this is how you're going to do that. You're going to remove this screw here, which is actually at the base. Get that in there. It's actually at the base of the, slide it over a little bit more. It's at the base of the gun right before the loading bay. And then you're going to remove these two screws here that go all the way through the receiver and hold the receiver to the frame. And once you get those out, the frame will lift. The receiver will lift out of the frame, but you're going to have the trigger bar still connected to the trigger. And you're going to have to remove this bolt right here and this screw. And then the receiver will come out with the trigger bar still attached to it. And you're just going to reverse that to put it back together. The trigger will stay in the gun. This bar will come out with the receiver, and everything will just bolt back together simply by putting this bolt back through here, and then putting the receiver back in, putting these bolts through, and then putting the bolt that holds it all together back together. That's it. So that's how you're going to get down to just the receiver. So you're going to have the receiver in your hand with the magazine tube, kind of sticking out of it. And what you're going to do is you're going to apply heat. You're going to apply the heat gun to that receiver. Let me see if I get there. And the end of that magazine tube. So let me get back to the disassembly part. So when you get this apart, you're going to be applying heat right at the base to get this to heat up enough to screw that out. And it didn't take long. Like I said, I put my heat gun on high. I might have held it on there for like 2 minutes, where I could start feeling the receiver starting to heat up and a little bit of smoke start coming off of it. And once that was done, I just simply put the gun between my legs, like held it between my legs like this. Grab my rubber tube here. My rubber pad here. Grip the tube because it's probably going to be a little bit hot, and twisted it, and it came right out. Now you're going to have to, when you start threading that out, it's got the magazine spring in there. So and this magazine spring is really long. So you're going to have to kind of hold that, because if you don't, what happens is when you pull that tube out, this magazine spring is going to just shoot out on you. It's going to leave the follower probably stuck in the back of the receiver down here somewhere, and then you're going to have the end plug still stuck in the tube itself. Now, you're going to have the magazine tube in your hand, and it's going to have this plug still stuck in this end because it's going to be beyond the crimp. So you're going to have to pound that out of there, and you're not going to damage it. I'll show you. It's made out of plastic. You might rough it up a little bit. It's made out of plastic, and you're going to have to pound that out, and you're going to have to go through this end to get that out. So that's where you're going to need, I would say, a socket set, because as you can see, this socket will not fit in this end. So I found a socket small enough to fit to that hole and give enough coverage on that, something like that, and just hammered on it from the back end with a mallet, and holding the tube and hammered on it until that plug came out the opposite end. So once you got that out, now you're going to have the tube in hand, and you can go to work on it. So what I did was, and like I said, you might have seen that in my previous video, there's a crimp about right here. And what I did was, I start off with a smaller socket first, and I look for the biggest one that will fit in the tube, and I start off with a smaller one, and I slid it in, and I waited for it to hit the actual crimp to know that it was the right size. Now, you pull it back out, and you're going to have all your extensions together with your socket on the end. And you're going to heat up the tube right around that crimp with your heat gun. And you're going to heat it up so it's nice and warm. You're probably going to see some smoke coming off of it if it's got oil on it. And that's going to allow that metal to be a little bit more pliable. I wouldn't suggest manhandling this. It is aluminum. It seems like it's pretty thick, but it is aluminum. And I don't want you to bend it, break it, or bust it trying to get this done, because you might break those tabs off. So I would suggest putting a heat gun on it. And when you go in to actually try to get that crimp out, what I did was I didn't like put the tube face down on the table and hammer it from the back. I actually put the extension on the ground and then slammed the tube down on top of the extension. Pause. Right. He actually slammed the tube down on top of the extension to kind of like butter churn it out, so I didn't damage the end of the aluminum tube by having it down on a bench, hammering on it, you know, while I'm trying to get that out. I didn't want to flatten or damage the end. But if you do choose to hammer from the back end, you just put yourself down a rubber pad that you have, and that'll probably protect the end. So, I mean, pretty simple. All you're going to do is just work that out, right? So you're going to start off with this. You're going to, like I said, you're going to have all your extensions, probably about, I don't know, 1.5 feet of extensions together with this on it. Maybe if you've got a foot long or 2 foot long extension, put your socket on there, slide the tube down on top of it, and just hammer down on it so that this is eventually pushed through the kink. And you're going to have to do that a couple of times, depending on how patient you are. You're going to do that a couple of times until you can work this socket through that kink. And then you're going to go to a bigger one. This one, like I said, this one was actually a little bit bigger in diameter than this socket. So when I got to this one, I did the same thing. I just hammered it through until it came all the way through. But you're going to get to the point, for me, at least for me, where I got to the point where even though I used the biggest socket I had, I didn't have a socket that had a small enough outer diameter to fit into the tube. So then you're going to have to go in with a Dremel. And when you go on the Dremel, you're going to go in, and like I said, take your time, because you don't want to, like, you know, sand through the side of the pipe. All right, camera malfunction. Camera flipped on me. I don't know why, because I'm using the stylus that controls the camera. So what I was saying was I just went in with the Dremel. You saw it in one of my videos, and I just went around and removing a little bit of aluminum at a time until I got it with the inner diameter, until I got the inner diameter wide enough that I could take the follower and slot it so that it came all the way through. You saw that in one of my shorts. After I did the Dremel, because it's going to be like super tight. Like even with this socket, I was able to get a shotgun shell through it, but the follower would not go through. So you're going to have to get it wide enough so that that follower will go through, or else you're not going to be able to get 6 shots in it. So I went into the tube with the Dremel, kept removing with a sanding wheel or a grinding wheel, whatever you may have. Just kept doing this and looking inside and kind of trying to make sure I kept a uniform rotation so I didn't burn through one side faster than the other. And then what I would do is I would just take the follower and drop it in and see if it would slide through.
You get the idea.
After doing that for about, I don't know, like I said, it took me about an hour each day. I finally got to the point where it slid through and I saw the follower touch the other end of the magazine tube. Now, once you do that, you're going to go in. You may have seen in my video, you're going to go in with a pipe cleaner or with your cleaning kit for your 12 gauge, and you're going to clean out all of the little metal filings that are in there. You're going to give it a nice little layer of lubrication, and then put it back together. And after you do all of that, your gun should hold 6 rounds. So hopefully that was enough to kind of show you how to do it. Again, I didn't want to take my gun apart again. It's running really good right now, and it's you know, it's not hard to do. It's not hard to get it apart, but you know, it's a little bit of a pain sometimes. Actually, after I broke the Loctite on it the first time, I can now take this apart without, you know, no, I did. I put blue Loctite on it, but I think I could take it apart now without having it take it all the way down because I don't need heat. Like I said, the only reason I took the receiver out of the frame is because I didn't want the heat to damage any of the plastic that was around here. I don't know what it says it's got this thermal guard stuff, and if you take that apart, this looks like there's metal embedded in there. But I didn't want to burn any of the outer surface or anything with the heat gun. So that's it. Once you get that done, you will be able to put 6 in the tube, 1 in the chamber, ghost loaded, and you'll have a Hatsan that runs 6+1. Thanks for watching. Peace.